If you're a coach, a creator, or an online business owner and struggling making a clear decision, the problem is not the strategy or the information that you have. It's mostly the identity. In this video, I'm going to break down how this old identity is making a secretly decision in your business and shift it into an awareness led action that will stop forcing confidence or even hustling harder. So, one of the biggest problem that I've noticed is a lot of people, they keep on adding more courses, more strategies, more information. They try to copy successful online creators or online business owners, and then what ends up is they just getting more confused, right? So the real issue is not with the information, because the information is out there. You have all the information. You've probably been using already the best strategy, but somehow you still feel stuck. You cannot make a clear decision. You keep on delaying everything. It's like you keep on undercharging, or delaying whatever business what you're trying to do. So maybe you don't want to, you're delaying launching your offer, right, or creating content because you might be judged. You might be you might be think that people will not believe you. So the problem is mental, right? The problem is not really the information, it's how you execute. So why is the old identity becomes the problem is because even though if you try to shift your identity, like a lot of advice there, especially there's a very famous book called Think Rich and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill, and a lot of people have been successful to it, but there's also tons of people who weren't successful. It's because shifting your identity just by thinking that you just need to act and think as the better version of yourself, as who you ever want to be, or whatever goal you want to achieve in your business. There is an attachment, a strong attachment to it is causing the problem. And identity shifting is actually not bad, because we actually consistently shift our identity, right? When you interact with people, with different types of people, you are already unconsciously shifting your identity. If I am interacting with my friends, I have a different character. If I interact with my children, I'm a father. If I interact with my wife, I'm a husband. So there's always a constant shift. If you interact with the public people, especially in the business, you have a different character, right? There is already an identity shifting happening, but we never look into that. And the problem is we get too attached to this identity, then it becomes a cage, right? So operating from an old identity and you are not conscious about it is the problem, right? Because even though you think rich, think the better version of yourself, acting the same way, and the problem is it gets very exciting in the beginning, but when you don't see any results, when there is a misalignment on your current reality, what happens? You start doubting yourself. You get even more pressured. You get more resistance. It creates more resistance because the more you start doubting yourself, this old identity that you've been embracing, that you've been programmed of, is now getting even stronger. It backfires. Instead of you becoming this new identity that you want to be, so that you can make a clear decision, you can take action clearly, it becomes even more less confident because there's a misalignment. So you then start creating more resistance. You start trying to force things even more, or then you doubt yourself. So there's a big misalignment, and the more information that you put in, the more courses, the more strategies that you absorb or consume, the more confused you become because of this old identity that you are carrying. And the problem is, it's not just the identity, it's the lack of awareness of it. So what you can try that works for us is step back, use aware, be aware of your identity. It's just simple stepping back from identity to awareness. Because what happens is, for example, if you're too attached to this identity, it's like you're wearing a Superman costume, and then suddenly you jump in the roof thinking that you can fly. It becomes unrealistic simply because what happens, every decisions that you make comes from the identity, not from awareness, right? So stepping back in awareness is more like as I'm aware of an identity, and this identity will make decision from awareness through that identity. The identity does the execution, and then you have a clear step. So how does that work is, instead of creating an identity, this identity, or what we do is, instead of identity, we use character. No attachment with the character. You just create a character. For example, you want more traffic, you create a character that is only focused on traffic. Every task that you want to do has a separate character for it, right? And you remain as an awareness, you remain as aware of that character. Then this character will execute. This character will do the work. You remain as aware of that. So what happens is, once you have that detachment of the identity, it becomes just a character. It just becomes a role. It plays a specific role. Then you can start observing the character, the execution, and the outcome. And when you are not attached with the character, and you remain detached as an awareness, then you can evaluate the outcome, and it doesn't emotionally affect you what the outcome is. Example that it didn't meet the expectation that you want. For example, you want to drive traffic, and then this character is executing, creating content, for example, and then it's not getting that much traffic. Then that, in that situation, since you are detached, you can evaluate and then use that as a data, right? Because if you are too attached to it, if you become the identity executing and then it failed, the problem with attachment is you get emotionally involved, you get frustrated. And once you're frustrated, once you are too attached to it, then your decision making becomes even, it becomes more emotionally involved. That if you were in stress, in anxiety, the quality of your decision is not good, right? I mean, it's in a scarcity, so you cannot make a clear decision when you are emotionally involved. But without emotionally involved, staying in awareness, then you can use every outcome as a data, and from there you can refine it, right? So there's a big difference of making a decision from an identity that you are attached to, then from creating a character that you are not attached with and use that as a role for a specific task, and then to make a clear execution, make a clear decision out of it, and then boom, use the feedback as a data. Give it a try. It's a big difference. So this is what we go deeper into this awareness-led creator mode, what we call it, and we go deeper inside our community. If you think this is interesting and you want to learn more about it, you can join our community. We have a free masterclass about the tree operating system, which is Reactor, which operates out of emotion, which reacts from a situation, and then you have the responder, which responds from an identity, making decision from the identity, still attached. It's better than the reactor, but still, it still can be, it still can create cage and still can make decision out of fear. And then you have the creator mode, which is operating from awareness and using awareness, using identity or a character to do a specific task and take action and make clear decision from awareness. If this is something for you, Subscribe. I'm gonna release more videos about it. I'm gonna go deeper into it, and inside our community, we go even much more deeper, and then we can interact. You can have a call with me, and then see how we can implement this in your current situation. So, link will be in the description, and I'll put it on the pinned comments as well. And I'll see you on the next video. All right, peace.